Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Matchbook Horse Racing Podcast, where we're getting stuck in more Cheltenham action this weekend with Friday and Saturday's card. We'll be touching only briefly on Friday because obviously we're approaching that pretty quick, focusing mainly on Saturday. That is between Cheltenham and Doncaster. It's all national hunt. It's all good stuff. Charlie Post is with us. Steve Jones is with us. And Dan Overall is back for a little bit more. Well done to the team last week. I think we were 3 from 3 with the best bets that won. And by and large, we had a pretty good week as well. Don't forget to like and subscribe. It makes it easier for you to take in all of our content. That is between football and NFL and, of course, our horse racing and plenty more besides. It's the best no-cost way of supporting the podcast. The Cheltenham Trail is back again. It's episode 4. It's the trends for the big races. So that is well worth having a look at. I still yet to do the latest one, but it's really good content between Dan Hussey, Don McLean, and Matt Toombs. Okay, let's get stuck straight into the previews. I'm sure everyone's well, and I'm not really too fussed. As long as you're putting up winners, that's what we want. Steve Jones, Friday, Cheltenham. The floor is yours.
150, Walking Clover. A 6-year-old who's had 13 runs over fences. Quite extraordinary, really. But last time I thought that she ran really, really well. The height weight, she was third behind Triple Trade in Calico at the November meeting at Cheltenham on the Friday. And she now steps up in distance. She's won over 3 miles. That wasn't even 2 miles. So this 2 mile 4 and a bit, that should be perfect for her. I think in a race that's extremely winnable, I think that's the strongest form. So Walking Clover, who has form on all sorts of ground, so I think she'll take some stopping.
That's in the 150. And while I'm with you, you've got another one as well in the 225. Walking Clover, incidentally, is 5.5. Who do you like in the 225?
The 225, I'm going to take a bit of a chase. It's a really strange race where you straight. It's a veterans race, and a lot of them I couldn't have at any price. So I'm going to take a chance with Sam Brown, who is a horse that always travels very well, running the Grand National. So what he's doing over 2.5 miles, I don't know, but he does travel very well. I think he'll cope with it. And he was running a real good race at Punchestown at the festival in the spring. Before falling, I think 2 from home, something like that. And didn't run very well in the Badger Beer first time up this season, but I think getting to the age now, he probably wants the return to action. So I'm taking a chance on Sam Brown, who I think is about 13.0. So
Yes, indeed. That's in the veterans race, the 225. Charlie Post also has one in there, Charlie.
Yeah, I'm in agreeing with Steve that there's plenty of them that I couldn't have, and I've probably gone with one that he couldn't have. Lord de Menil for me. He ran a cracker at Cheltenham on his last start in the spring, finished second there. He's actually got a reasonable course record. I think again his second highest RPR has been achieved at Cheltenham, and I thought he ran a respectable enough comeback at Sandown behind Good Boy Bobby. He wasn't beat all that far, even for all that he only beat one home. And I think here in this veterans race that lacks a bit of depth. And I just think now that with a run under his belt, he's won at 11.0 win and place. I could see him stepping up markedly on his season of return, Tom.
And the other one is your guilty pleasure, Charlie.
Yeah, I mean, I actually, you know, the most exciting thing that when I saw the sheet, I saw Dan Overall has also waded in with me. So that gave me additional confidence, but it had to be Go Dante, didn't it, in the 115. And to be honest, I think probably now he's a slightly more reliable Go Dante than when I was sort of blindly chasing him at the beginning of last year. Since he dropped back to 2 miles, he's become pretty consistent. He won at Wetherby last spring, followed that up with a decent run in the 2 mile handicap at the Grand National meeting, and started this year off with a really solid run in the Greatwood. Calmer waters here, and at 10.0 with a run under his belt, second run back from a wind up as well. I don't see any reason why he shouldn't be running a very big race.
That is Go Dante, as you used to say it, Charlie.
I used to, mate, but I got such abuse for doing it one day that I'm not doing it again.
Right.
I'm not doing it anymore.
Yeah. There he is. Go Dante. Yeah. You've basically just grown up since then, haven't you, Charlie?
If you ask my wife, she might not wholeheartedly agree with you, to be honest.
That's the second week in a row your wife has cropped up on this podcast, Charlie. So that's good to get. Do you know that? And that's lovely. That's lovely.
She won't pay next.
I'll put an invoice in for her and for all your additional unpaid podcasts.
Quite right. Who is? Yeah. First of all, you agree, Dan? Go Dante.
Yeah, so it was one of Charlie's guilty pleasures putting him up blindly last year. One of my guilty pleasures was blindly opposing him in every race he ran in. And part of that was because I thought he just didn't really look all that genuine. And also he was always really short, almost unjustifiably short. But here, I think I was really impressed with his running the Greatwood. I thought that was a really tough ask to go into what is generally one of the best handicaps of the year. First time out, first time on a wind up, generally against a pretty high caliber of horse. And I thought he shaped really well. And he looked a bit more grown up to me. And I was looking at this race, and it's average enough, I think. And bearing in mind he's the price he is of 10.0, I just thought that was really tempting. I think the stiffer test of the new course will definitely suit him as well. An extra furlong on the new course, I think, is ideal. And from what we know and what we thought he could be, or Connection seemingly thought he could be, he should be up to winning a race off 125. And I think this is a fairly winnable one.
That is us done with the Friday Cheltenham stuff. You've got another one though, have you, Dan? At Bangor.
I don't believe the first time I ever muted myself. What have you guys done to me? You've infected my mind.
It's embarrassing.
Rookie error. It really is. I'm gonna have a word with myself off camera.
Yeah.
But this horse, I've had my eye on this horse for a while. If you remember, Connections had a horse called Trans Express. The same owner, same trainer, same jockey combination, who always won that race Exeter just before Christmas. It was basically paying for their festive season. I think he could be the new version of him. I actually thought he would run in that same Exeter race, but they've gone a different route with him. But he's had a couple of very interesting runs this season. I don't think he was knocked about at all. His first season over hurdles, a bit stop-start, but still ran some very encouraging races behind the likes of Lastro Boy. His seasonal reappearance now looks really solid form. He was third behind Deafening Silence and wrapped up in May. And again, wasn't given an overly hard time. The fourth one on his start next time out is now 818. He was 12 lengths behind Astronomic View that day. I think he is being laid out for some race. I hope it's this one. And it's interesting they've gone to Bangor. The Gardner team are 4 from 14 there in the last, I think, 13 years. I don't send many there. And their last 2 have won. So I'd be really keen on him. I'm hoping he's going to pay for their Christmases like Trans Express did for about 4 or 5 years on the spin.
That's Astronomic View in the 205 at Bangor. Peter's punters along, says Cheltenham only comes but once a month. The first Matchbook stream I saw, says Peter, Steve was putting on a different hat every 30 seconds. Those were the days. I remember that well. He was along on my recommendation, and I was embarrassed. And I sent Dan Hussey a message apologising, saying never again. And yet here we are 2 years later. Unbelievable.
And I haven't got any hats. And I haven't got much hair either.
We move on.
Those were the days.
They were 150 at Cheltenham on Saturday. It's the December Gold Cup. Thunder Rock is 4.5. Monmoral has had his win done. He's at 6.5, as is So Scottish, who has a tongue tie on. Il Ridoto is 7.5. Fakir Duderi is 9.0. Fugitive 9.0. It's a good betting heat, this one. It's got to be. 2 shouts for Il Ridoto from Dan and I. I haven't put up a horse yet, so I'll come in first of all with Il Ridoto. I know that Monmoral is the stable first string, and I'm wary of him, having had his win done. I originally was thinking of going with him off a mark of 145, but the more I look at Il Ridoto, the way he went about it last year, when in January, when changing the tactics and just getting going from the front, you know, the new course suits that so well. So he's back here for the first time since the festival, when the plate was just going to be too tall an order, but he still ran really well. If you look back at last year, a £5 rise, he's definitely good value for that. And as I say, last time he ran really well, but that was on the old course, and he wasn't as prominently ridden. So I expect Bryony to just get out and play Catch Me If You Can. I think that'll really suit him. And I thought he was a really fair bet at 7.5, Dan.
Yeah, I think he's really rock solid. As you say, he wasn't the first string for the Paddy Power Gold Cup a month or so ago, but they had stage start. And again, his tactics and how he likes to be ridden was never going to suit Il Rodotto because they probably weren't going to take him on with each other. So I think now Monmoral's interesting, but I'd say Il Rodotto is by far the more solid of their two in here. I couldn't really be touching Monmoral, to be honest. But you generally look at that race in November, it always crops up when winners are here. I think 10 of the past 17 have run in that November edition and run well in it before winning in December. Obviously, he is £5 higher, as you say, before his win over course and distance previously, but he's still on £3 better terms with Fugitive than he was that day for a Lemp success. He's only 6 years old. As you say, Bryony Frost, if there's one thing she absolutely excels in, it's front-running chasers and getting them into a rhythm. So while Harry not riding can't be viewed as a positive, I'm not taking it as much of a negative to have Bryony on board because I love her on a front-running chaser. And yeah, I just think he's one of those. He's a rock-solid win and place option and should be bang there.
Charlie Post.
Yeah, I would agree with you. I'd have Il Rodotto over Monmoral, and I've respect for Thunder Rock. His form has been really franked, but again, I just think this requires a different sort of test in an ultra competitive handicap round Cheltenham. For all that it's not a huge field, but I just couldn't get away from Fakir Dudarri. I don't think he's ever ran in a handicap. I mean, he's rated 162. It's going to be a massive effort for him to go and lump top weight and win this race, but at the same time, I don't see it as being an impossibility. You know, as in if we're arguing that Monmoral off a mark in the mid 140s is well enough handicapped on what he's done so far, I think Fakir Dudarri is very worthy of the mark that he's going to be asked to carry. You know, I can't believe it, unless there's another plan in mind. I don't see why Joseph O'Brien would be bringing him over here just for a pipe opener. You know, he's also running really well. And it's hard to believe this also only ace as well. He seems to have been around forever, and he seems to have been there and done it at the top level. And yeah, I just think it's going to be really interesting to see how he gets on under 12 stone and define a mark like this. But like I say, he has the latent quality, and I was going to say backclass, but I mean, he was doing it all last year in Grade 1 company. So yeah, Fakir Dudarri at 9.0, win and place for me.
And Steve, Thunder Rock for you. Who is the market leader?
Yeah, my default setting is to start off being against the favourite in all these races. So if you do put the favourite up, then you have to really fancy it. But I just can't get away from his form. His form is absolutely rock solid from start to finish. Even over hurdles where he won, 4 times from 6 starts. And then since he's gone chasing, the only time he's been beaten was when he was third to the Real Wacker on New Year's Day last year. Then he went to the Scilly Isles and was third to Jerry Colomb. And then he's gone to Cheltenham, where I don't think he really stayed 3 miles in the Grade 1 novice chase. And then he's gone up to Ayr and he's finished second to That's All Right Gino, who obviously went on and won the Coral Gold Cup. And first time up this season, he beat Smile Mission, who's second in the Coral Gold Cup. I think this sort of race is going to be perfect for him. He wants to. He was tried over 3 miles. I think this kind of 2 mile 5 nearly run at a good pace is absolutely perfect for him. And he's got Sean Bowen on board, who is riding brilliantly. So I just can't get away from it. If there is one, I think Monmoral's probably it, who was just in front of him behind the Real Wacker last year. And I'm a bit disappointed with myself that I'm putting up the favourite in a race like this. But I just think he's got an exceptional chance.
Okay. That is the feature done. 2 shouts for Il Rodotto, 1 for Thunder Rock, and 1 for Fakir Dudarri. We've come to the 115. We're going back in time now, away from the feature, then we'll work through the rest of the Cheltenham card. The 115 has Calico atop the betting at 3.0. In Excelsis Deo is 3.1. For Nabol Sivola is 7.0. Ocken Risk is 8.0. We're going to bigger prices thereafter. 3 different horses going up. Dan is sitting this one out. I'll come back to you, Steve.
Which race are we on? Sorry, I was getting sent messages about background noise. I'm sorry.
No, it's all right. So that's fine. Not only do you cock it up, you then throw the producer under the bus. Do you know what?
115.
Forget it.
It's the 115, isn't it?
Yeah, no, Charlie, forget it. Charlie Post.
It's all right, Steve. Just tuck up, pull up that electric blanket a little bit more, mate. Just take a break. Yeah, Funambule Savola for me. I mean, I think he's at 7.0 now, or possibly. So I'd have him win and place. I was really against the JP horse in here, the Harry Fry horse. I was nearly going to put him up as a lay. I can see Calico. He's an improver, novice in the handicap company, but I just like this horse. He's dropped 6 in 2 runs already this season. I thought he ran better behind Boot Hill on his latest start at Ascot. He took a couple of runs last year to really hit peak form. He's had those now. And then, like I say, in the meantime, he's come down to a mark of 150, dropped 6. So, yeah, Funambule Savola, win in place for me in this race.
I'm with Calico. I half wish I'd gone no bet, but I have put up Calico. I just think the track and slightly better ground than advertised. I think there'll be some good to soft knocking around come Saturday. I feel surely it is exactly what the horse wants. We know what sort of ride he's going to get, and I think he will trade pretty short in the run. Like whether or not he goes off clear favourite, I don't know, but I might be looking to play in the run as well. I know he was caught by Triple Trade last time, but a prominent ride, new course, I think he should be tough to beat, but it would be a sort of maybe a half stake shout. Steve, over to you.
Thanks, Tommy. I'm going to go in Excelsis Deo, who looked really, really smart this time last year when winning at Hereford on first start for Harry Fry, having come over from France. And this is a horse who has not gone on from there, it's fair to say. But last time at Cheltenham, over 2 miles on decent ground, there was a lot more to like about it behind Dancing on My Own and Triple Trade. That Triple Trade form is stood up. And I just think that 2 mile trip on good ground was probably a little bit sharp for him. And going onto the softer surface, I think he's going to be well handicapped. So with Harry Fry in good form, and Excelsis Deo for me.
Welcome along to Alex, who says he's with Il Rodotto. That was in the previous race. Good luck to you there. We move on to the 225. This is a handicap chase. It's a Premier handicap over 3 miles and 2. And the interesting thing is that Top Weight Protectorate has been left in. Broadway Bob heads the betting at 4.5. 3 under through 5 is 5.5. 6.5 for Protectorate. City Chief is 7.0, as is easy as that. And Melina Girl. Dan, I'm gonna head to you. We agree, but perhaps you can make a better case than I can for Broadway Boy, who won very comfortably last time and drops into a handicap over fences for the first time of 146.
Yeah, this is really interesting race planning because you're thinking the only other option around this time of the year would have been a Corto Star, but that track wouldn't have suited him. It's going to be a decent race. And actually, this handicap is worth the same amount of money as the Corto Star would be. So I think it's actually quite clever because we know he loves Cheltenham. We know he's a Forestier. So the new course, an extra 2 furlongs, isn't going to make a difference to him. Obviously, won over hurdles on a new course as well, so he's proven that. And he's just a proper, relentless, galloping sort who I absolutely adore. Like, I think he can make up into a graded novice chaser down the line. Obviously, already won a listed race, but I can see him lining up in the Brown Advisory and having a decent chance. If he's going to do that, he has to go very close at the minimum here. But I think he's got all the attributes to take the handicaps very well. He'll be ridden handily with Sam Twist and Davies back on board. He's a pretty sound jumper in the main. He does put in the odd one. It's a bit dodgy, but so far he seems to brush it off quite easily and get back into a rhythm. I hope he can be a borderline grade 1 horse in novice chases down the season. I think a mile 146 is fair, and he's got the run style, which really suits handicaps on the new course.
Yeah, I thought he was pretty solid, to be honest. I thought he might be a bit shorter, and I don't fully trust 3 under through 5, and Protectorate for win purposes doesn't personally do it through me. Charlie, you trust 3 under through 5, 4.33?
I trust him just enough, yeah. Again, I can see the case for Broadway Boy, but I actually was perfectly happy with 3 under through 5's reappearance in the Badger Beer behind Blackjack Magic, who's given lumps away to A2. Again, it's another Paul Nicholls' second run after a wind up, this horse, and I thought that he went well for Harry Cobden the last day. He's obviously back on board, and I just thought this horse was thoroughly solid. And again, looking at prices, he might drift out a bit with strength of support behind Broadway Boy. Again, on the screen now, I'm seeing him. He's at 5.5. So I think that's an attractive bet. And Protectorat being in the race means that he gets to run off a handy mark below 11 stone, which is another bonus.
Steve, you're with Easy as That, who I was going to say Charlie Deutsch must be down to about his lowest to do that, and he is 10-2.
Yeah, first of all this talk of the old course and the new course, can anyone remember which course is which? Because I can't. So what they should do is call one the Isterbrack course and one the Arkle course, maybe not Arkle, but a Gold Cup course, and then everyone would be able to remember it. And you can't go, oh, new or old. I mean, they're both old. That's the thing. Nowadays, they're both old. So I'd say that's my suggestion. Isterbrack course.
You said about the nursing home, Steve, a minute ago. That was you're not helping yourself there.
The Corto Star course or something like that. Or anything. Just anyway.
If you're just joining us, welcome to the Matchbook Horse Racing. It was a tipping podcast where
just a suggestion.
No, it's great. It's very
suggestion.
useful.
Thanks,
yeah,
mate.
It's like last of the summer wine. This, honestly, pull that blanket up a bit more.
I fancied Easy as That in the Paddy Power Gold Cup, and I was surprised that he was ridden so far back, because you want to be somewhere near the pace or not too far off it in that race, and he just plugged on. But maybe he couldn't go the pace in that race, and this is up to 3 miles too, and he has shaped like a horse who wants 3 miles. He's also got a lot of stamina in the pedigree. He's a nephew of Time for Rupert, who was a very good staying hurdler for Paul Webber a good few years ago. And he has a real nice profile. He ended last season really strongly with a couple of wings, or he switched to fences very strongly. He didn't run particularly well on his last run, but that was on Imperial Cup Day when the ground was absolutely desperate, and it was a good race, that one, with the likes of Hudson de Grugy in there. So with that under his belt, with Venetia Williams in absolutely astonishing form and Protectorat keeping the weights right down, it's perfect for Easy as That. I'm absolutely astonished he's at this sort of price. I think he's 13.0, which is crazy. So, yeah, I'm well into Easy as That. And if he's that sort of price, you can go winning place as well.
I feel for transparency's sake, he is 7.0, but still, I take it.
Is he?
Yeah, he is.
Is he? Yeah, no, of course he is. Yeah, sorry. Maybe he's coming in the betting a bit.
But you can still.
I'm going to check this because my memory is so bad. I thought he was double figures. Oh no, he was 9-1. He was 9-1 earlier, so I'm not. And I must have mixed him up with another horse, but
that's
price wise. But no, he should. There's no way he should be that sort of price. Anyway,
sorry, as easy as that. In the I don't even know what race the 225.
It's anything but easy. It's anything but easy.
It's an absolute. It's not. But who knew the 207th would be the last? So we move on to the 3 o'clock, which is the Albert Bartlett registered as a Bristol Novices Hurdle. Shut Up Bob is 3.0. Destroy the Evidence is 6.5. Cadell is 8.0. Illico de Cotte is 8.0. Bigger prices thereafter. And have you got one for us, Dan, in this one? No. Charlie, over to you. 8.0 shot.
Yeah, win and place with Cadell. I mean, more. There's obviously a Nicky Henderson 200 grand point to pointer that was won easily around Plumpton, but I thought was wicked short on what we know thus far, and probably purely priced up on reputation. Cadell, I think, is just a really likeable horse. He won a couple of British point to points. He was then second in a bumper at Aintree, and then won on hurdle debut at Kelso over 2.5. bettered that again under a £7 penalty when narrowly denied by Kerry Hill, who reopposes here today. He's obviously now going to be £7 better off in this contest. And again, moving up another 2 furlongs in trip. He was unsuited the last day at Kelso by the slow tempo of the race. They sort of hacked and sprinted. He looks, to all intents and purposes, like a real thorough stayer, got a very likeable attitude. And like I say, stepping up to this 3 miles on the new course, which, as we all know, takes a bit more getting and a bit more staying, will suit him ideally. So, yeah, Cadell, purely because at the prices I wanted to be against the favourite at 8.0 win and place.
Just on Shanna Bob, the time of his win apparently was excellent in that good form point to point. Comfortably the fastest on the day by 12 seconds, no less. And he obviously looked pretty good when winning on debut. He's just, he could easily turn out the best of these. He's just not a sort of Nicky Henderson horse I half want to take on as a staying novice hurdler. They don't know. I think if this was a 2 mile division, I'd feel more positively about the horse's profile, not necessarily this specific horse because he looks a stayer, but the profile from the yard. Anyway, I thought Illico de Cotte was interesting. He was beaten a nose by Buxy de Pierre last time, who I think is worth following. That horse ran at the weekend. And Dan Skelton ran Langer Dan in the race, and I believe was in communication with Venetia Williams as to whether or not she was going to run Buxy de Pierre. And I think effectively he wanted to try and keep that horse out of the race, who just scraped in. That tells me that he didn't expect Illico de Cotte to be beaten. The horse was 10-11. And incidentally, I think it's worth putting Buxy in your trackers, who will be up in trip next time, and I think should be tough to beat. But anyway, Illico de Cotte should appreciate going up in trip the way that the horse rallied last time. And just because he's been beaten on his hurdles debut, he just has that sort of the price feels like it's based on that. But that could easily have been a run, 130 plus, and that could be good enough to win this. So I thought, in a 10-runner race, there's the main bet I want to have on the day, to be honest, is win and place 8.0 Illico de Cotte. Steve,
I've decided that I'd call the one course, not the Isterbrack course, the best mate course, just to avoid doubt. Anyway, in this race, the Albert Bartlett, then which is obviously seen as a sort of trial race for the Albert Bartlett in March, which has got quite a good record, because you know what I mean. Harry won both, Kilbrook and Storm won both, and it suits horses because it's 3 miles, because it's soft ground, and because these are young horses. It suits horses with lots of experience, and one with 6 runs under his belt is Moon d'Orange, who's trained in Ireland by John McConnell. And this horse has been gradually, it won at Cartmel in May. I mean, you don't get many horses with potential for graded races running at Cartmel in May, but Moon d'Orange is gone on from there. He's second at Carlisle to Johnny Who. Johnny Who's a nice prospect of John Joe O'Neill's, and he backed that up. That was over 2.5, and he backed it up at Thurles when he went from the front in a small field behind Will Do, who's another really good prospect. And I don't think he was suited making the running, really. They've got cheap pieces on for the first time. And it's interesting that those 2 races that I mentioned at Carlisle and Thurles, they both came in November, when John McConnell had 74 runners, I think, on the flat and over jumps, and he had 0 winners. Now, they've started to come back, whatever was wrong with the horses, because we all know John McConnell is an exceptionally good trainer, and whatever was wrong must have been solved, because they're running much better now. And Moon d'Orange, like I say, has got cheap pieces on for the first time, and I think he'll just win. This will be a real battle, and inexperienced horses who have made their debuts around Plumpton and places like that, looking all very fancy over shorter. They're gonna be in for a bit of a surprise, I think. And Moon d'Orange, I think, is 13.0, if my memory serves me correctly. And I think he's just the sort of horse that will run well in this. So winning place, Moon d'Orange.
Moon d'Orange, who is exactly that, 13.0. The 335, then we come to, this is a mare's handicap hurdle, and top of the betting is Bonte, who's 4.33, Theatre Glory is 5.5, Nurse Susan is 7.0, Coquelicot is 8.0, bigger prices thereafter. Dan Overall.
Yeah, I really like Bonte here. I think she's got a massive chance. And before the declaration, Lucia was taking up a lot of the market, and there was no chance she was ever going to run. So it's made it quite an open race. But Theatre Glory running means she gets a lovely racing weight as well. Obviously, she's shown she loves Cheltenham. She won 2 bumpers at the track. One of them a listed race, second in another listed race. And over hurdles, it's been very much a case of slow progression. Like, she wasn't always the most fluent, but she was starting to get her act together towards the back end of last season, ended that campaign with a nice handicap win on her handicap debut very comfortably that day. She was off 110. It was just almost an insult to her ability, and she coasted through that race like she was always going to win. Her reappearance at Hereford, 2 miles on good ground around there, would have been extremely sharp, especially considering she was held up. How she managed to win, I'm not really sure. Like, she had no right to win from where she was, and this is a horse who clearly wants further. She's by Westerner. Her dam won over 2 miles 6, so she's pretty much all about stamina, and has looked that way. She finally gets a step up in trip, and of course we know that suits her. At 2.5 miles on the new course looks ideal. And after that Hereford win, Fergal O'Brien said post-race at December at Cheltenham has been the plan, basically since the start of the season. So even that run at Hereford was more prep for this, but a £5 rise I think is more than fair. And based on what we know from her bumper form, I think a mark 123 is still very, very workable.
All right, I'm with Theatre Glory just because I've just got a soft spot for her, and I really like her back into a handicap. She ran in, was it the Jerry Fielden, the first street round? That was her, that one. That was her last start in a handicap. All right, she was beaten. Well, it was too early to say, but she unseated. But obviously the stable first string won the race. But then she's looked pretty good subsequent to that, and also away from testing ground. And I remember when she won at the track in April of the year before. She seemed to really appreciate a sound surface there. I know she's top weight, but I think she's got a fair bit of ability, to be honest. But she wasn't too far behind Honeysuckle at Cheltenham, and she will do better, I think, with a run on a sounder surface. I wondered what they were sort of gearing up to last year, but I think they sort of know her level now, and it might just be that she's a top level handicapper, but no more. So. I think she'll be off for a life anyway. So Theatre Glory for me and Charlie.
I've taken a real flyer in this. I love the Nightlife win and place at 21.0. She was really progressive last year. Wound up winning the EBF final at Newbury off 119. Ran okay in a listed race, but behind a horse with no name at Cheltenham in the spring, and just ran terrible first run back at Wincanton. No, I don't think there's been any reason for that, but I just think it was too bad to be true. She went off 5-1 that day, so it wasn't like she was unfancied in the market, and I'm just willing to forgive her that and feel that that she's capable of much better. Also, just interestingly, Harry Cobden takes the ride for the first time. Brendan Powell has ridden her on every start throughout her career, and Brendan's an excellent rider as well, so it's nothing against him, but just a change of hands on board. Maybe that might just re-spark the mare's sort of interest and pique her, get her back to somewhere where she was at Newbury. And if she replicates that sort of level of 1-2-4, she's a player in this. And like I say, her price is too big. So win and place for me. I love the Nightlife.
All right, Steve.
Martha Divine for me. I was mentioning, you know what I mean, Harry, earlier. Well, you know what I mean, Harry, was bought very cheaply to join Harry Fry, to join his racing club. So that's exactly what Martha Divine is doing, running for Harry Fry's racing club, and having been running in Ireland for Paul Nolan, and has glimpses of decent form. It's been taken on even the likes of Corbett's Cross as recently as January, runner up to that one at Fairyhouse, and has had a breathing operation. She's also got a hood on for the first time rather than cheek pieces, and so there's a lot of things changing: stable, breathing, hood on, the headgear. And Martha Divine, if she's as well handicapped as she might be, then she's going to be a big player first time up. And Harry Fry, improves his horses that come to him quite regularly. And also, he generally has them fit first time up. So I'm going to take a chance at 13.0 Martha Divine in a decent winning place race because there's only 10 runners.
Okay, welcome along to Giles, who says, I like the consistent Bonte until I saw the price. JJ Riley, my win and place nap to upset the hot pots in the big one. It's about 34.0 as well. So good luck with that, Giles. We move on to Donny. So Doncaster 205. It's a novice's handicap chase. And at top of the betting is Serendipity, who's 4.5. Mr. Who, 4.5. Find the time, 7.0. Cruise Control is 9.0, as is Deeper Blue. Bigger prices thereafter. No, 3 different shouts here. 2 with Deeper Blue. I agree with you, Steve. I'm sorry, but you can make the case.
No, I love it when you agree with me because I think you're the best. And Deeper Blue, another Harry Fry horse. Now, I get it with Serendipity because Sue Smith is in astonishing form. She's always a trainer that goes a bit streaky, either in or out of form. She's definitely in form at the moment. So I respect Serendipity, but a bit short for me. And I think Deeper Blue might be a horse that has put his problems behind him because he's only run twice in the last, 12 or 14 months. But his first one made his chase debut behind Thunder Rock at Uttoxeter. And then he was off for a year and came back and ran really well at Plumpton in a race that probably didn't play to his strengths. He was held up right at the back by Johnny Book and given a lovely ride. Well, if you go back to his hurdles form, I think this horse has the potential to be really well handicapped. And for that reason, I'm hoping that he's put his problems behind him and Deeper Blue can show his true colours, which is blue, obviously.
My half angle as well was I think it's going to be decent ground at Doncaster looking at the weather, and I'm not convinced that a few of those ahead of him in the betting definitely want that, but I think Deeper Blue does. And I was pretty taken. I thought he ran very creditably last time. I hope he gets the pace he needs here. But yeah, I thought 9.0 is a very fair win and play shout. Dan Overall.
Yeah, I think it's actually a good race. I think this will throw up a fair few winners, I think. And obviously the market has favoured recent chase form, which is understandable. I just thought Henry's Friend was, bearing in mind, I think Gentle Frank is declared for the Friday and won't run. He'll be the outsider of the field, Henry's Friend, at 17.0. And I just thought that was a bit overpriced. Like, he was a bit of a big backwards type last season, but still ran pretty well over hurdles. He was third at Aintree, where Grey Dawning finished second in the Grade 2 as well. He won his maiden hurdle, beating a horse called Moonhunter, who's pretty decent in his own right, trained by Henry Daly. And he was only 8-1 for the really good 3-mile handicap at the Grand National meeting. So when you're bearing in mind that he was sent off such a short price, like a 24 runner handicap over 3 miles, I think he just didn't really appreciate the big field that day, and his trainer reported that afterwards, and he's had a wind up since. So I think you can forgive that run. He's bred to make a chaser. He looks a chaser. I think he would have improved for a bit of time. He just looked like he was a work in progress last season. And Ben Pauling has no problem readying a horse first time over fences either. And I think these conditions look close to ideal. So at 17.0 in a race where we're likely to get 8 runners, I think he's a fair win and place option against some, albeit accomplished novice chasers. I think he has as much scope to improve as any of them.
And Charlie.
Yeah, I can see what Dan's case there with Henry's Friend. I looked at him myself. My only concern was I just wondered whether 2-3 might be sharp enough round here on drying ground for him. But I think if it is, he definitely is a massive price, this horse, in this race, because he's got plenty of quality and size and scope to make a chaser. But I was pretty boring. I was staying with the favourite, Serendipity. As Steve said, the Sue Smith yard of flying form now, 50% strike rate in the last fortnight. And this horse has taken really well defences, had a wind operation in the spring and came back and finished third at Sedgefield behind a subsequent winner, and then came out of Wetherby and won nicely. £3 rise isn't insurmountable, and just looked like the sort of horse that this yard tends to do incredibly well with. And I personally thought 4.50 was a pretty fair price for a horse that's definitely got scope in his mark to rate higher than this for a yard that excels with chasers.
That's us done on the 240. The 205. The 240 is up next. It's a handicap hurdle, and Gin Coco is at the top of the betting at 5.0 with Clear White Light. Last night, calls and distance winner 6.0, Rare Edition 7.5, 8.0 Tommy's Oscar. bigger prices thereafter. 3 different horses going up here. Charlie's sitting it out. Dan, you can kick us off.
Yeah, I looked at this race. I just kept going back to Tommy's Oscar. Like, I know he's carrying top weight, but I don't necessarily think this is a great handicap. And I think there's every chance he could just outclass these. Like, he's shown no signs recently that he's on the decline by any stretch of the imagination. Obviously, run really 2 good races over fences so far this season. He won this race 2 years ago off top weight, and he's improved since then as well. And his last 2 races over hurdles were the 2022 champion hurdle and then the fighting fifth later on that year. So that was a level he was being forced into in over hurdles. But obviously, lower over hurdles off 152 here. I don't think that's necessarily a harsh mark. And I think left-handed tracks on galloping enough tracks as well on good ground, I think that's what he seems to relish. I just wasn't really convinced by many of the others. A lot of these are fairly exposed, and we know what Tommy's Oscar's about. He's such a consistent, reliable horse with a clear class edge on a lot of these. And I think if he runs his usual race, I think it'll take a sneaky, very well handicapped horse to beat him.
My long shot, my Matchbook Zero long shot is going up in here, but I'm as far as the sort of more realistic one, I'm playing towards the top of the market, which is Clear White Light. I was really impressed with the performance last time when staying on strongly, having been off it. Based purely on that, I wouldn't be with him, but the fact that his last win came over the track, the course and distance as well, I'm a huge horses for courses person, and that was his first start for some time. So hopeful he could improve for it. He was a point bigger when I made the selection, so it was sort of just getting away with a cheeky win and place, but you still almost can at 6.0. Steve, in fact, there you go. You're with the horse that I'm putting up as my Matchbook Zero long shot, so you can make the case.
Oh God, I didn't know you had 2, 3, 4 selections a race. Sorry. Too Friendly is the horse who was decent for Dan Skelton a few years ago. Runs in the very famous Gredley colours of user friendly and good horses like on the flat like that. But they're having good horses over jumps now. And Too Friendly was 5th in the Fred Winter juvenile handicap hurdle at the Cheltenham Festival a couple of years ago. And since going to James Owen, who seems to be their trainer these days, he's a Newmarket-based trainer, so he's clearly nearer to the Gredleys, and he's done really well. He got 3 wins out of this horse, albeit in the summer in lesser races. But his second to Rubo at Kempton, when he had good horses like, I mean, he had no right to finish in front of the likes of First Street and Sco Royal in that race at Kempton, the listed race. I can't remember what they used to call it. It used to be on Charisma Gold Cup Day, but a race that's long since departed. But that was a really good run. And I just think that his run in the Greatwood Hurdle at Cheltenham's November meeting was because the ground was pretty awful. And he just can't operate on that sort of surface. He's all right on softish ground, but when it's desperate like that, I don't think he likes it. So I think he's been overlooked purely because he was in that Greatwood Hurdle and didn't run very well. But he could easily bounce back from that. And what is he, 19.0, something like that?
Yeah.
Am I right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's a decent price because, as you said quite rightly, the ground at Doncaster is going to be a lot better than it is at Cheltenham.
Welcome along, incidentally, to Brad, who says, beat the bat first race at Cheltenham on Friday. That's tomorrow. Friend owns. They're quietly confident he hits them for 6 tomorrow. He runs in the opening batsman colours. They're part of that syndicate. So good luck to beat the bat. He's about 4.33. Thank you very much for that. The 3.15 at Doncaster is a handicap chase on Saturday. Forward plan heads the betting at 6.5. With good old Mr. Coffee, I'm not going back there. Sail Away 7.0. Whistle in the Dark is 7.5, bigger prices thereafter. Any horse that's sort of co-favourite with Mr. Coffee, I think you just got to back. But I do think Forward Plan's got a good chance based upon the run last time, where you see he was beating 25 lengths, but he made a real big mid-race move and was still travelling late on, and then just weakened late. I'm hopeful he just blew up a bit for the first start of the season. Otherwise, he's got some decent form on a sound surface in the book, and he's still relatively lightly raced. I definitely think there's a bit of manoeuvre off a mark of 125, and of course he's £7 lighter because he was £7 out of the weights last time. It was just a better run on the face of it than you would looking at the bare results. So forward plan at 6.5. Who's sitting this race out? Is it Charlie? No, you've got one, Charlie. Man of the people.
Yeah, man of the people, winning place for me, 11.0. This horse had a progressive year last time, and is thought good enough to contest the Scottish National. Actually went off 9-1 for all that he ran. Just ordinary, pulled up in that occasion. But he's still, again, very unexposed over fence, only the 6 starts, 2 wins. Started this year off with a really good second behind Any News at Exeter, only beat a neck before unseating early last time. Again, you would hope with that run under his belt, he's at peak form now. And like I say, he just has the profile of a horse that we definitely shouldn't have seen the best of yet. And for all that he went up for his Exeter run, I think 132 is still workable for him. And there's more to come from this lad. So man of the people, win and place for me.
Okie dokie. Steve, sorry.
Yeah, I'm surprised Whistle in the Dark has been ignored as well after one poor run, which was in the Paddy Power Gold Cup at Cheltenham, which wasn't really a poor run because it just got the ditch at the top of the hill all wrong, and after that was never likely to get back into it. So it's really a horse that had won 4 chases before that, all 4 chases. Stepping up to 3 miles, all the siblings came into their own over 3 miles. It probably give Whistle in the Dark a bit more of a chance. And having had that first run back, where he completed the course, but he raced for most of it, so he should come on for that. And just think that this is a less competitive race with the potential to improve a fair bit going up in distance. So Whistle in the Dark, who I can't remember the price, but I'm sure you know that.
So just make it up, mate. Whistle
7.5 to 1, 7.5, not 7.5 to 1, 7.5.
Right, so good. What we got now? Yes, we've got some other bets. Dan Overall, you have got one for us at Donny in the opening race.
Yeah, it's one I actually fancy.
Second.
Yeah, I think it's maybe the second. Yeah, the 2 mile handicap chase. I actually fancied him to run quite well at Cheltenham. That's Coast Guard Station for Henry Oliver. I don't think he handled the undulations at Cheltenham that day. He actually came into the straight looking like he might mount a bit of a challenge and just faded quite tamely up the hill. But given that he's a horse, I think doesn't necessarily always find that much for pressure. I think a flatter track definitely suits, and this is going to be exactly that. He was dropped £2 for that run, which I think is very fair, into a much lesser grade of race than he saw at Cheltenham last time out. He won on his second chase start at Doncaster. He finished second to Haddocks de Zobo off today's mark at the course as well. I think Haddocks de Zobo was running off 130 that day. He's now £27 higher. Brian Hughes comes on board, and when Henry Oliver and Brian Hughes team up, I think they're 14 runners, 3 wins, and a further 4 placed. So it tends to be a lucrative partnership. I think they just priced it up in one place, and he's 4.5, which is maybe a point or two shorter than I thought he might be, but I wouldn't be surprised if you can get 5.0, 5.5 come the morning of Saturday. And I think he can go very close in this.
That's Coast Guard Station, the 12:15 at Doncaster. Charlie, you're going to Hereford.
Yeah, Western Zephyr in the 2:13 at Hereford. He's had a couple of starts over fences, ran well at Carlisle on seasonal reappearance, and then was just narrowly denied at Sandown the last day. He needs to go right-handed, and I think Hereford could suit him ideally. Only the 5 runners in this, and he's also quite a keen, gassy horse, and 2 runs might have just taken the edge off of that, and we could be about to see a peak performance for him. And he's definitely sort of horse with size and scope to be jumping fences and continue to progress. So yeah, Western Zephyr 2:13 Hereford.
Matchbook Zero long shot time now. Then we'll do best bets. Matchbook Zero, don't forget, live at 10 a.m. the market goes live, and you're most likely to get best odds because A, it's an exchange, and B, the Matchbook Zero part of the exchange means there's 0 margin and 0 commission. Mine is too friendly, 19.0 in the 240 at Doncaster. Steve?
Moon d'Orange, who is at Cheltenham in the 3 o'clock.
Charlie Post.
Man of the People, 3:15 Doncaster.
And Dan Overall.
Yeah, mine's also in that 240 Doncaster, and it's Tommy's Oscar, just short of double figures.
Yeah. Around about 8.5. Best bets then. Mine is Ilko de Cot in the Albert Bartlett, the 3-mile contest, novice hurdle. That's in the 3 o'clock at Cheltenham. Steve?
In Excelsius Dio in the first televised race at Cheltenham, which I think is the 1:15.
Charlie, your best bet, sir?
The unreliable 3 under through 5 in the 225 at Cheltenham.
And Dan?
The last race at Saturday at Cheltenham, Bonte in that mare's handicap hurdle.
Peter has put up Positive Thinker in the 12:30 at Fairyhouse. Good luck to you. Good luck to everyone. And thanks for joining us. Hope you have a brilliant weekend. Head to insights.matchbook.com for a recap of all the best bets. Like and subscribe, and we'll see you soon. Bye-bye.